one topic that I think is very interesting for, well, I think for anyone who's interested in painting and sculpture, but also for people working in these fields themselves, is how your ideas come about. And we've gone into that a little bit in terms of that you will start with drawing and you'll start with shapes and movements that will activate your imagination further. But when you're starting out with an image, I guess there's a few different ways that occur to me that I personally found imagery sort of coming to me. One is from the point of view of imagery itself, so an idea for an image sort of comes into my mind. Or there might be an idea that I want to express, or there might be a narrative that I think could be, that's kind of compelling, and I'm looking for a way to visually put that story into something and to anchor it in, as we've been talking about, anchor it into the real world, but there's something compelling about the story itself. So I wanted to know, in your process, if there's any particular pattern in the way that these things are emerging. I mean, I guess there's a lot going on for you. There's always lots of images. There's always lots of visual things that are percolating around.
Yeah.
But is there, if you take a particular story, or we've got this one about slavery here. We've got this one for the Merging project. You've talked about other. We've got the Pamphili project we've been looking at. For example, with those, is there a certain pattern about the way that those ideas are?
Yeah. As you can say, there's one thing that's very important. I'm living constantly surrounded by this kind of images.
Yes.
This kind of images and narrations.
Yeah.
And that's why I have sketches on the wall to keep in mind certain things that then can get combined with something else. That is so. Let's say that I'm imaging. Let's say there is one thing that is the main one. I want to make an amazing image. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That is extremely convincing. They're going to be something that's going to astonish me when I look at it. So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And then narration stories, they can be opportunities to get that image.
Yeah.
Most of the time I'm failing probably, and maybe I'm successful, I don't know, because even you measure in time, if an image you made is good or not, if it's able to resist, if it's able to create an interest, but in time, not just right away. So let's say, they are all tentatives to make this beautiful image.
Right.
So it can be a story that comes from a news. It can be something I was thinking about, today about the destiny of painting. It can be something that comes out from this conversation we are having today, now. It can be the fact that I went into a place I discovered Pasolini died there, And so each of these stories, they can be the opportunity to make these images. But these images are not like something abstract, because that's the thing that I think it differentiates my point of view from other people about this kind of topics. To me, these images, I already saw them. They are the Last Judgment by Michelangelo. They are like the pediment of the Parthenon by Phidia. They exist. They exist already. I saw them.
Yeah.
And I want to make new ones today. So reality, everything that is around me, all the narratives, are all potential articulation of another of those images,
Yes.
So let's say is like this huge emotional impact that those images have on me, that has to be filled with new stories.
Yes.
I'm kind of just a tool in order to materialize something that I know exists already, to the point that they can even be coinciding, I don't know, maybe I'm going to make, hypothetically, like in a Borges story, I can make a new Last Judgment without knowing that I'm doing that, So that's the idea, So, in sort of way, there is this huge space that has to be filled and articulated with something,
Yes.
But I know that huge space has to have a certain kind of impact,
Yes.
Because otherwise I don't care. That's, in sort of way, the parameter about which about which everything is moving around, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm choosing certain narratives, because that
Yeah.
gives me that kind of opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm trying to get an image to stay in one place, because that's why I'm making a painting, because I want to demonstrate in a certain kind of place. There can be a museum that certain kind of images are still relevant, you know,
Yeah.
because there is that space there. You
Yeah.
know, that is
Yeah.
always in my brain. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, so that's partly answers this question, is as you're working, I'm interested in what it is that tells you that you're on the right path. So you look back on your paintings, and I'm sure that there's some that you look at and you say, it didn't never really, I had this idea it was going to be great, and then it didn't quite get what you want. And then some of them you look at and you go, yeah, that's amazing, and you know that you nailed it at that time. And so the question of how you're judging how you're going, how are you assessing what's going on with this. So I guess in one way, that's the thing. You know what a powerful image looks like,
Yeah.
and you're looking for that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you could say that could be advice for a young artist, or for an artist of any age who is trying to make powerful images? Is there anything any ways that you reflect, or sort of patterns that you see in the way that you work, where you look at something and you notice, yeah, I've been here before, I know I'm on the right path here. Is there anything like that for you?
Yeah, I try to figure out that, because it's not easy for me, because every time that somebody is asking me about, you know, what kind of suggestion I would give to a young painter, you know, it's difficult, you know, because I think my own point of view is extremely specific. It can even be not so happily accepted.
Sure.
Because, you know, of course, you know, when I say I already seen the images I want to do, is meaning that I'm not open to every possible thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is also something that can result weird today, because we're being exposed to such a long time to a culture who will tell you, oh, there is the whole world in front of you, total freedom, this. This is a myth. It's not true at all.
Yeah.
We are living inside a very specific realm that is our brain, our being humans, our being this kind of animal who has a certain kind of very specific place to stay. There isn't a point of origin in which everything was possible. We've always been this thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so, if I have to give a suggestion, I would give a suggestion to get rid of this myth of the endless possibilities, you know.
Yeah.
And think to get into this realm of the images as something that is not kind of a cloudy place, but is made by images. It's made by very specific images, which needs to be constantly renewed, because there's a need for them.
Yeah.
So there is a need constantly to, in a sort of way, formalize all this narration that we are constantly repeating all the time in those kind of shapes, in order to validate those narration and to validate the present. You know, if we want to have this kind of positive relationship with the present. If we don't want, and that's what's happened in the last few centuries, you know, we don't want to validate the presence with the present with these images, we are living this kind of illusion, you know, of a constant changing of things, you know. Instead, you know, images are made in order to get close to ourselves, you know, and when we are getting close to ourselves, we are also getting close to the world, in a way, you know. So, accepting the fact that we have huge limitations, but these huge limitations are able to create amazing, beautiful images that we are making for ourselves.
So maybe you would say, look to those images, look to the
Absolutely.
history of painting, and look for the ones that really...
But the big impact, emotional impact is not about something that doesn't exist. It's about what is there.
Well, what is possible from...
Yes, and it's being already done. But it's being done not because of those people were superior to us. They were already basing themselves themselves on things we already saw.
Yeah.
It's always a representation of something. You know, one of the greatest artists of the 19th century is Ingres. Ingres was extremely aware of that thing. You know, it's already been done. You have just to try to do as much, as best as possible today. You know,
Yes.
it is extremely difficult. You know, because we have to give answers in that kind of form. That's my suggestion. You know,
Yeah.
so let's say there is a crazy thing happening today, you know, I don't know, it's extremely important, okay, September 11, let's say.
Yeah.
Try to put that thing into a painting, and good luck.
Yeah.
If you are not able to do it, you are not able to validate your own present. You are not able to validate your own identity, you know. And then, you know, let's see how are the results, you know, because some painters made that, you know. I'm not saying, it depends, you know, it's up to you, but, you know, some images are really not so representative, or we are not able to create the same kind of impact. So let's say the world is moving all the time, you know, things are constantly changing, but one thing that is constant is ourselves. At a certain point, you know, we have to bring toward ourselves the events are happening around us, and the forms in order to do that are very limited, very few, and there are some of them are really the best. And you know, as you know, the painters of the Renaissance were able to formalize a narrative that was the Christian one and the Jewish one into amazing paintings which have the same shape of the paintings and sculptures of the one of ancient Greece. You know, you understand? So a story was coming from a completely different kind of world, and which even didn't want to get represented into images. They were able to, you know, if you think like David, the Michelangelo David, he is an Apollo. He's not really anymore the David from the Bible. They've been able to transform that thing into something else and give it a shape which already existed. That is like a standing man. That's it, you know. All centuries of art, starting from Nicola Pisano in the end of the 13th century until the 16th century, you know, in order to do what? A standing figure. Has been done 40,000 times, you know, and then still he was able to do it again and making it amazing, you know. So that's what I'm trying to say, you know.
Great. So one last question then, as maybe advice for people who are studying art or looking at going into this is, if they look at your work and they admire it and they really want to explore things in this direction of figurative art and how this tradition can be relevant to our time, how it can move people now, do you have any advice about what they should study, say, in say a technical sense? Because there's things like, I mean, drawing is obviously super important for you, and drawing in a sort of three-dimensional way and in terms of compositional design. And then there's also, I suppose, the idea of compositional design itself and looking at paintings and how that's been used maybe is important. And also digital tools. Do you have any advice about digital tools that you would say people should study ZBrush, or they should study this or that? So these, if you have any specific advice about this
to go really like in the specific thing for me, the most important thing is like to study and to learn as much as possible to draw from imagination. First of all, you know, that thing, you know, because that's the way to, you know, to give shape to your imagination, first of all, you know, it's like, you know, for a pianist, learn how to improvise. If you don't do that, you won't be a musician, in my opinion. You're just a bunny reading, you know. So, first of all, learning how to draw from imagination, because today, you know, a lot of people are able to draw, to paint only if they have something in front of them, you know. So that's okay, it's okay, you can make amazing things or whatever, you know, but you won't be able to make the last judgment. You won't be able to make, like, again, to give answers to the needs that we have today, you know. The needs we have today is to give shape to what is around us, you know. And to do that, you have to have a vision, practically. To have a vision, you have to be able to draw from your own imagination. Then, first of all, that thing. Then, of course, you know, in my opinion, if you like what I'm doing, I think it's extremely important, you know, to work with these three-dimensional models. And three-dimensional models doesn't mean necessarily only the digital. It can be also plasticine, you know. You can make your own little sculptures in plasticine, I made it for years and years and years, you know.
Light them how you want.
Yeah, with the lights, etc., etc.
Yeah.
You see from different points. You take pictures. You can make sketches. All these things, you know, you transform that imagination into a reality which stays in this real world. You know, you can start to turn around, to move these things, all these kind of things. So, drawing from imagination, and then making all this 3D world out of your imagination again. So, like really enhancing this idea of imagination, because despite of what I was saying before, that you don't have to imagine incredible things, but in that realm that is already very limited, you need imagination in order to articulate the space of a canvas or the wall. And then, of course, among the tools, for my experience, I like to work with Maya, of course, as a general environment. And there's many people who are working with Blender, and they think that they working very well. I've never learned it, but I know it's very good. It's also for free. And then, at least it was. I don't know if it's still for free.
It's still free, I think.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And then ZBrush is amazing. I don't want to make advertisement, but it's a pretty impressive tool. You can do almost whatever you want. For organic modeling is really fantastic.
Yes.
And then there are also these other possibilities, which are more hybrid. I use it sometime, even the using of 3D scanning. But that's still very, very expensive. You can put like models under a dome made of cameras. They're clicking all together. You have it like a 3D. Model. That can be interesting.
Yeah, I've just been exploring photogrammetry myself on to be able to scan in a little sculpture. And it's actually much more doable and effective than I expected even. And I'm learning more about it and about good techniques. So it's
but to me the thing that is the most important in the end, going so much into details, even to tell the names of the programs is is one thing has to be always kept constant. It can even be made without all of these things, That is like, as I said before, being able to make this relevant image, which is made of imagination, let's say, and this very strong, let's say, compositional aspects, which ensure the image to be part of the world. Because that aspect is the architecture of the image. In the end, an image is a piece of a space. Radically, a painting. I'm not saying in illustration or other kind of images. A painting is a piece of a space where we are living in, and the logic through which is constructed is through geometry and architectural aspect. Of course, not in the same way of a piece of architecture, but it is part of that in some way, But at the same time, it's figurative and abstract at the same moment, And again, the goal are those classic paintings, which are classic for the very precise reasons, because they're being able to answer to certain needs. So, you can have like this starting from a sketch and finishing with the painting, and you can put a lot of other tools in between, but these tools in between has to be used in order to help to get there. You have to have very clear where you want to go. That's my point.
Great, excellent. So let's just finish up with asking you, is there any shows that are coming up for you, or are you working on this one? And is there a date that you can give us for when people can go and see this? Or?
Of course. This one going to be in this museum in Norway, the 28th of September. Then I have like two shows, one in a national museum in Stockholm, a national museum in Helsinki. Is a big exhibition about the relationship between contemporary art and classic art and traditional. Let's say I have one small painting there. I'm going to travel with two museums. Then what I have. I'm going to have like a show in Saint-Étienne in France in another museum that is called Le Abattoir. That is like, the Abattoir is called like that. It's a big museum in which probably this painting going to be there again, So there's a lot of things coming up.
Excellent. We'll put all the information below the video.
I think there are going to be like 10 shows
Yeah.
in public spaces next year, between
Terrific.
this year and next year.
Excellent. Now, also, just social media, website, we'll put that below, but if you want to tell people you're at Nicola Verlato.
Yeah, Nicola Verlato, and Nicola Verlato, www.nicolaverlato.com.
Yes.
And of course, you know, the Instagram page is Nicola Verlato.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. These
Right.
2 social media. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm posting, you know, finished paintings, but also the process.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you are interested, you can
Yeah.
check.
Yeah, we're seeing some interesting things come out there. So, well, I'm Scott Breton. I'm doing this on behalf of TIAC Academy. This has been Nicola Verlato. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Awesome.
Really pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Wow! This guy is asking me a lot of things.
Oh yeah, blame it on him.